Earth is our home in the vast expanse of the universe. It's a testament to the incredible diversity and complexity of life. It's not just a planet with countless living species, but a dynamic world of vast oceans, towering mountains, lush forests, and expansive valleys too. From the tiniest microbe to the biggest mammal, every part of this blue planet has something new and amazing to show us. Earth is the third planet from the Sun, which makes it a pretty special place in our solar system. It's the only place in the universe where we know for sure that life can exist. The atmosphere is full of oxygen and other gases that protect the planet from harmful space radiation, while also allowing for the exchange of gases that are essential for life. Without this protective layer, life as we know it simply wouldn't be possible. The atmosphere on Earth is made up of nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and other gases, as well as water vapor, which helps to regulate temperature and maintain a stable climate. This complex balance is essential, as the atmosphere maintains the planet's temperature within a range that supports life. The ozone layer is another vital component. It protects the Earth from ultraviolet rays, while greenhouse gases ensure that enough warmth is trapped to maintain habitable conditions. The hydrosphere is made up of the planet's oceans, lakes, rivers, and groundwater. It covers about 71% of Earth's surface. Water is the foundation of our planet, supporting all known forms of life. The oceans, which contain 97% of the Earth's water, are really important for regulating global temperatures, driving weather patterns, and supporting marine ecosystems. The water cycle, which involves evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection, is one of the most important processes for maintaining life. There's no other planet in our solar system that can match the biodiversity on Earth. The biosphere is where all the action is, with every ecosystem you can think of: deserts, forests, wetlands, oceans, mountains, and polar regions. Each ecosystem is different, supporting lots of different life forms that are suited to their environment. These ecosystems work together to keep the delicate balance of life on the planet in check, with every species playing a part in its larger ecological context. The amazing variety of life on Earth is reflected in its huge biodiversity. Tropical rainforests are a great example. These forests are among the most biologically rich ecosystems on the planet. They get a lot of rain and stay warm all year round. This makes them home to more than half of all plant and animal species on Earth. The Amazon rainforest alone has an estimated 390 billion individual trees, and within its dense foliage live millions of species. Many of these are still undiscovered. Savannas are found mainly in Africa, South America, and Australia. They are huge grasslands with a few trees here and there. These ecosystems are home to some of the most iconic wildlife species, including lions, elephants, zebras, and giraffes. Savannas get seasonal rainfall, with dry and wet seasons that affect the migratory patterns of animals. Fires, often caused by lightning, are a natural part of the savanna ecosystem. They help to regenerate vegetation and maintain biodiversity. Deserts cover about 1/3 of the Earth's land surface and are home to some of the planet's most extreme conditions. Deserts are harsh environments with minimal rainfall, high temperatures during the day, and cold nights. Only the most resilient organisms can survive in such conditions. Even so, deserts like the Sahara and the Gobi are home to some pretty unique plant and animal species that have adapted to thrive in these tough conditions. Take cacti, for instance. They store water in their thick stems, while animals like the fennec fox have developed ways to conserve moisture and stay cool. The polar regions, which include the Arctic and Antarctic, are the coldest and driest places on Earth. These regions are covered with ice and snow all year round, but they still support life. Polar bears, seals, and penguins are just some of the iconic species that call these areas home. The ice sheets in the polar regions play a crucial role in regulating the Earth's climate by reflecting sunlight and maintaining the planet's temperature balance. However, these regions are highly sensitive to climate change, with rising temperatures causing ice to melt at an alarming rate. Mountains, which rise dramatically from the Earth's surface, are another vital part of the planet's diversity. They provide habitats for specialized species that have adapted to life at high altitudes, where temperatures are lower and oxygen levels are reduced. The Himalayas, Andes, and Rockies are some of the most prominent mountain ranges, and they influence local climates and water distribution. Glaciers in these mountains serve as important freshwater reserves, feeding rivers and lakes that support both human and wildlife populations. The oceans make up most of the Earth's surface and are home to a huge variety of life. From the shallow coral reefs, which are home to a huge variety of marine species, to the deep-sea trenches where creatures have adapted to survive in extreme conditions, the ocean is a world of its own. The variety of life in the oceans is incredible, with species ranging from tiny phytoplankton, which forms the basis of the marine food chain, to massive whales that traverse the globe. Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea for a reason. They're among the most diverse marine ecosystems, supporting thousands of species of fish, invertebrates, and plants. The climate on Earth is a major factor in how ecosystems and biodiversity work. The planet is split into different climate zones: tropical, temperate, and polar, each with its own weather patterns and ecosystems. Tropical regions, which are located near the equator, experience warm temperatures and lots of rainfall, which supports rainforests and other lush environments. The temperate zones are located between the tropics and the polar regions. They experience 4 distinct seasons and are home to deciduous forests, grasslands, and some of the most fertile soils on the planet. As we mentioned earlier, the polar regions are known for their extreme cold and icy landscapes. There are lots of different factors that affect the Earth's climate, including the tilt of the planet's axis, its orbit around the sun, and the distribution of land and water. Ocean currents, like the Gulf Stream, are really important for regulating the climate. They transport warm water from the equator towards the poles and cold water from the poles towards the equator. Winds are also critical, helping to distribute heat and moisture across the globe. Together, these elements create the conditions necessary for the diverse climates and ecosystems we see on Earth today. It's clear that human activities have had a big impact on the Earth's ecosystems and climate. Since the Industrial Revolution, things like deforestation, pollution, and burning fossil fuels have made a big impact on the planet's atmosphere. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane trap heat in the atmosphere, which is causing global warming. This has led to rising temperatures, glaciers melting, and more extreme weather, including hurricanes, droughts, and wildfires. One of the biggest challenges facing our planet's ecosystems is climate change. The delicate balance that keeps life on this planet going is being disrupted by changes in temperature and precipitation patterns. It's becoming increasingly difficult for species that have evolved over millions of years to live in specific environments to adapt to these rapid changes. Take coral reefs, for example. They're being devastated by ocean acidification and rising sea temperatures, which cause coral bleaching. As the ice in the Arctic melts, it's becoming increasingly difficult for polar bears, seals, and other species that rely on the ice for hunting and breeding to survive. But there are still people trying to protect and restore the Earth's ecosystems. Conservation initiatives, such as setting up national parks, marine protected areas, and wildlife reserves, are really important for preserving biodiversity. Reforestation projects, renewable energy development, and sustainable agriculture practices are helping to reduce the impact of human activity on the environment. International agreements like the Paris Climate Accord aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and limit global warming. The Earth is a living, breathing entity that supports all forms of life. Every ecosystem, from the tiniest pond to the largest oceans, is crucial for keeping the planet's ecological balance. The food chains, nutrient cycles, and energy flows that keep life on Earth going are pretty complex, and they depend on the planet's environment being in good shape. It's not just about saving countless species. It's also about ensuring a bright future for humanity. The beauty and complexity of Earth's ecosystems show us why we need to take care of them. This planet, with all its different forms of life and ever-changing processes, is a gift. It's a reminder of the amazing things that happen in nature and how everything is connected. Every species, every ecosystem, and every element of the natural world is part of a larger whole, working together to create the conditions for life to thrive. As we keep on exploring and learning more about the universe, let's not forget the special qualities of Earth, its diversity, resilience, and fragility. This planet is our home, and it's our job to look after it for future generations. We need to appreciate the resources it provides, respect the delicate balance that sustains life and work, towards a future where humans live in harmony with the natural world. As we think about how well Earth's systems work together, It's important to remember that they can easily be disrupted. For example, think about the world's forests. They cover about 30% of the planet's land area and act as a vital carbon sink, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Forests, especially rainforests like the Amazon and the Congo Basin, are often called the lungs of the Earth because they can convert CO2 into oxygen through photosynthesis. They're home to more than half of the world's plant and animal species and provide vital ecosystem services such as water purification, flood regulation, and nutrient cycling. However, the continued destruction of forests is still a major threat to these ecosystems. Every year, millions of acres of forest are cleared for agriculture, urban development, and logging. This destruction isn't just reducing biodiversity, it's also contributing to climate change by releasing stored carbon back into the atmosphere. When forests are damaged, it makes it harder for them to recover and keep providing the services they offer. This can lead to soil erosion, loss of habitats, and disruption of water cycles. Despite the worrying rate of deforestation, there is hope on the horizon in the form of reforestation and afforestation projects. Governments, non-governmental organizations, and local communities are joining forces to restore damaged forests by planting native trees, implementing sustainable land management practices, and encouraging eco-friendly agriculture. In countries like Costa Rica, these efforts have been a success, turning barren lands into thriving ecosystems once again. Just as forests are vital to life on Earth, so too are wetlands, which include marshes, swamps, bogs, and other water-saturated areas. Wetlands make up about 6% of the Earth's surface and are really important for regulating water cycles, storing carbon, and supporting biodiversity. They act as natural water filters, trapping pollutants and sediments while providing a home for a huge variety of wildlife. Many species, from birds that migrate to amphibians and fish, rely on wetlands for breeding, feeding, and shelter. It's a shame that wetlands have been among the most threatened ecosystems in recent history. Over the past century, almost half of the world's wetlands have been lost to things like agricultural expansion, urbanization, and infrastructure development. Draining wetlands for farming and real estate development disrupts water cycles and reduces biodiversity, while also making areas more susceptible to flooding. It's crucial that we protect and restore wetlands. This helps to maintain water quality, prevent floods, and conserve biodiversity. More and more conservation organizations and governments are realizing how important wetlands are and are working together through international agreements like the Ramsar Convention to protect these critical ecosystems. Freshwater systems like rivers, lakes, and streams are essential for both humans and animals. Freshwater ecosystems are pretty amazing. They cover just 2.5% of the planet, but they're vital for sustaining life. They provide drinking water, support agriculture, generate electricity through hydropower, and offer habitats for countless species. The Nile, Amazon, Yangtze, and Mississippi rivers are among the largest freshwater systems on Earth, each supporting millions of people and diverse wildlife. But freshwater ecosystems are facing more and more pressure. Pollution from industry, farming, and urban development has really damaged water quality in many parts of the world. The excessive use of water for irrigation, coupled with climate change, has led to water scarcity in many regions. This has resulted in rivers drying up and a reduction in the availability of fresh water for both people and wildlife. The overuse of freshwater resources, along with the introduction of invasive species, has led to the collapse of many freshwater ecosystems, putting species like freshwater fish and amphibians at risk of extinction. There are a few ways we can help conserve freshwater ecosystems. One is to restore wetlands, another is to improve agricultural practices to reduce runoff, and a third is to implement water-saving technologies. On top of that, setting up protected areas along rivers and lakes helps to keep these ecosystems safe from further damage. It's crucial that we manage water sustainably and reduce pollution if we want to make sure that future generations have access to clean, fresh water. The oceans are also facing a number of challenges. Overfishing, pollution, and ocean acidification are all threatening marine biodiversity and the health of ocean ecosystems. One of the most visible environmental issues is plastic pollution. Millions of tons of plastic waste enter the oceans each year. This plastic debris, much of which is non-biodegradable, breaks down into microplastics that marine animals ingest. This harms species ranging from tiny plankton to large whales. Entire ocean ecosystems are affected, with coral reefs, mangroves, and seagrass beds being particularly vulnerable. On top of the plastic pollution, the increase in global temperatures caused by climate change is making the oceans warmer, which is leading to coral bleaching and the loss of biodiversity in marine ecosystems. Coral reefs, which support around a quarter of all marine species, are particularly vulnerable to changes in water temperature. When the water gets too warm, the corals expel the algae living in their tissues, which turns them white and stops them getting their main source of nutrition. If temperatures stay high for a long time, whole reefs can die off, which could lead to the collapse of the ecosystems that depend on them. Another big threat is ocean acidification, which is caused by excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere being absorbed. As CO2 dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid, which lowers the pH of the water. This increased acidity makes it harder for marine organisms, like shellfish and corals, to build and maintain their calcium carbonate structures. The loss of these species has a knock-on effect throughout marine ecosystems, disrupting food chains and reducing biodiversity. There's been a lot more focus on protecting marine ecosystems recently. Marine Protected Areas, MPAs, have been set up all over the world to help conserve important habitats and prevent overfishing. These areas are like safe havens for marine species, allowing populations to recover and ecosystems to regenerate. International agreements, such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, aim to regulate how ocean resources are used and promote sustainable fishing practices. In addition, there are more and more initiatives to reduce plastic waste and clean up ocean pollution. Countries, companies, and individuals are taking steps to reduce plastic consumption and improve waste management systems. The cryosphere is another critical component of the planet's environmental systems. It includes all of the Earth's frozen water, glaciers, ice caps, and permafrost. The ice sheets of Antarctica and Greenland contain around 68% of the world's fresh water, and their melting could have a big impact on global sea levels. As temperatures rise, these ice sheets are melting at an unprecedented rate, contributing to rising sea levels that threaten coastal communities and ecosystems. The rapid melting of sea ice in the Arctic is having a big impact on local wildlife and indigenous communities. Polar bears, which hunt on the sea ice, are especially at risk from these changes. As the ice melts earlier and refreezes later, the bears have less time to hunt seals, their main food source, and have to travel longer distances, which uses up more energy. On top of that, the loss of sea ice is also opening up new shipping routes and increasing access to previously inaccessible natural resources, which could make environmental degradation in the region worse. Another worrying issue is the thawing of permafrost, which is permanently frozen ground found in the Arctic and subarctic regions. As permafrost thaws, it releases large amounts of stored carbon in the form of methane and carbon dioxide, which further accelerates global warming. This positive feedback loop makes it even more challenging to mitigate the effects of climate change. Despite these challenges, there is more and more awareness and action to address the impact of climate change on the cryosphere. Governments, scientists, and environmental organizations are working together to keep an eye on changes in ice cover and come up with ways to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Some regions are also looking into the possibility of rewilding and restoring natural landscapes to help with carbon sequestration and support biodiversity. Humans are responsible for many of the challenges facing Earth's ecosystems, but we're also deeply connected to the planet's natural systems. For a long time, indigenous communities around the world have known that living in harmony with nature is important. Their traditional knowledge and practices often focus on using resources sustainably and protecting ecosystems. Many indigenous cultures see the Earth as a living thing that deserves respect and care, rather than just a resource to be exploited. Recently, there's been a growing recognition of the value of indigenous knowledge in addressing environmental challenges. Indigenous-led conservation efforts have been shown to be effective in protecting biodiversity, mitigating climate change, and preserving ecosystems. By combining traditional ecological knowledge with modern science, these initiatives offer a powerful approach to environmental stewardship. It's great to see that in many parts of the world, indigenous peoples are leading the fight against deforestation, mining, and other forms of environmental destruction. Their expertise in land and water management is gaining recognition and support from governments and international organizations. Protecting the rights of indigenous peoples and ensuring their involvement in environmental decision-making is not only fair, but also a crucial step in achieving global conservation goals. The future of Earth's ecosystems depends on the choices humanity makes in the coming years. Will we continue on a path of environmental degradation, or will we take bold action to protect the natural systems that sustain life on this planet? As we face the many environmental challenges of the 21st century, one of the most urgent questions is how to move towards more sustainable ways of living. The Industrial Revolution brought some amazing technological advances, but it also marked the start of significant environmental damage. The burning of fossil fuels for energy, the extraction of natural resources for profit, and the mass production of goods have caused pollution, destroyed habitats, and contributed to global warming. Today, we can see what these actions are doing to the planet, and more people are realizing that we can't just carry on as we are. One of the most important parts of this change is moving away from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. Fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, have been used to power industrial societies for over a century, but their continued use is unsustainable. They're not only finite resources, but their extraction and combustion release large amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, driving climate change. The burning of coal, in particular, is a major source of air pollution, contributing to respiratory illnesses, environmental degradation, and global warming. On the other hand, renewable energy sources like solar, wind, geothermal, hydroelectric, and biomass are a cleaner alternative. Solar energy is a great example. It uses the power of the sun to generate electricity, heat, and even desalinate water. Wind energy, captured through turbines, is another area that's really taking off, especially in regions with strong and consistent winds. Hydroelectric power has been around for over a century. It generates electricity from the flow of water, but it has to be managed carefully to avoid damaging rivers and freshwater ecosystems. As we move towards a more renewable energy future, there are still a few hurdles to overcome. Building the infrastructure to support renewable energy, such as wind farms and solar arrays, requires a lot of investment and political support. There are also some technical challenges to be solved, such as how to store energy and integrate it into the grid. Solar and wind energy, for instance, are sources that depend on weather conditions, so it's important to develop reliable ways to store and distribute energy during periods of low production. Despite these challenges, renewable energy is becoming more accessible and affordable. Thanks to tech advances, solar panels and wind turbines are now cheaper than fossil fuels. Governments, businesses, and communities are investing in renewable energy because of concerns about climate change, energy security, and air quality. In countries like Germany, Denmark, and Costa Rica, renewable energy now makes up a significant portion of the energy mix, setting an example for the rest of the world. Energy efficiency is another key part of sustainability. If we use more efficient tech and practices, we can cut energy use and greenhouse gases, as well as save money on energy. New ideas in building design, transport, and manufacturing mean we can do more with less energy. From energy-efficient appliances to electric vehicles and smart grids, there are lots of new technologies that are helping to reduce energy demand while maintaining the same level of service. In the transport sector, electric vehicles, EVs, are one of the best ways to cut carbon emissions. Traditional petrol and diesel-powered vehicles are a big source of air pollution and greenhouse gases, but EVs are a cleaner alternative. Battery tech has come a long way, and electric vehicles are now a realistic choice for more and more people. Public transport systems are also turning to electric buses and trains, which will help cut our reliance on fossil fuels. It's not just energy and transportation that affect the planet's sustainability. Modern industrial agriculture is highly productive, but it has had a big impact on the environment. The use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, the expansion of monocultures, and the overuse of water resources have all contributed to soil degradation, water pollution, and biodiversity loss. Plus, industrial agriculture is a major source of greenhouse gas emissions, particularly methane from livestock and nitrous oxide from fertilizers. Sustainable agriculture practices are a great way to produce food without causing too much harm to the environment. The key principles of organic farming, agroecology, and regenerative agriculture are all about using natural processes and biodiversity to improve soil fertility, control pests, and manage water resources. These methods help us to rely less on chemicals, improve soil health, and make ecosystems more resilient. Take agroforestry, for instance. This combines trees and shrubs with agricultural landscapes. It's not just about food and timber. It also improves soil structure, captures carbon, and creates habitats for wildlife. Another big issue in agriculture is conserving water, especially in areas where there's a shortage. Drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting, and developing drought-resistant crops are just a few of the ways farmers can use water more efficiently. Some regions are rediscovering traditional farming techniques like terracing and crop rotation and using them in modern agriculture to boost productivity while saving natural resources. We also need to tackle food waste in the global food system. It's estimated that around a third of all food produced for human consumption is wasted, which is a huge loss of resources. Food waste happens at every stage of the supply chain, from farm to table, and is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing food waste through better storage, distribution, and consumption practices could ease the pressure on agricultural systems and reduce environmental impacts. Another key aspect of sustainability is protecting biodiversity. The incredible variety of life on Earth, from tiny microorganisms to the largest mammals, is vital for maintaining healthy and stable ecosystems. Biodiversity provides a whole range of ecosystem services, including pollination, seed dispersal, water purification, and climate regulation. It also has intrinsic value, as each species plays a unique role in the web of life. However, human activities, including habitat destruction, pollution, and the overexploitation of natural resources, are pushing species to extinction at an alarming rate. When biodiversity is lost, ecosystems become weaker and more vulnerable to shocks like climate change, disease outbreaks, and invasive species. It's crucial that we put in place conservation efforts to protect endangered species and preserve their habitats. There are lots of different ways to conserve wildlife. One is to protect large areas of land and ocean by setting up national parks and nature reserves. Another is to focus on saving particular species. For instance, reintroduction programs have been effective in helping to bring back species like the California condor and the gray wolf from the brink of extinction. International agreements like the Convention on Biological Diversity are designed to encourage global cooperation in protecting biodiversity. As more and more people move to cities, there are challenges and opportunities for sustainability. By 2050, it is estimated that 2/3 of the world's population will live in cities, so urban areas will be key players in creating a sustainable future. Cities are hubs of economic activity and innovation, but they also concentrate resource consumption, pollution, and waste. The way cities are designed and managed will have a big impact on the environment and the quality of life for billions of people. The idea behind sustainable urban development is to create cities that are livable, efficient, and resilient, while also reducing their impact on the environment and making sure that residents are happy. Green building standards, such as LEED and BREEAM, encourage energy-efficient and environmentally friendly construction. If you plan urban areas with public transport, green spaces, and mixed-use developments, you can reduce the need for cars, cut energy use, and make communities more lively. The idea of smart cities is also becoming more popular. Smart cities use digital tech to make infrastructure better, use resources more efficiently, and improve urban living. If cities use information and communication technologies to improve things like transportation, energy grids, water management, and waste systems, they can become more efficient, sustainable, and resilient. For instance, smart traffic systems can ease congestion and cut emissions, while smart meters can help households and businesses keep an eye on and cut their energy use. Waste management is another big issue for sustainable cities. The linear take, make, dispose model of consumption generates a lot of waste, much of which ends up in landfills or incinerators. This approach not only wastes valuable materials, but also contributes to pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. A shift to a circular economy, where products are designed to be reused, repaired, and recycled, could significantly reduce waste and resource consumption. The idea behind the circular economy is that we should keep materials in use for as long as possible, use fewer virgin resources, and have less of an impact on the environment. Recycling, composting, and upcycling are all part of this approach. More and more cities are introducing policies and programs to encourage recycling, cut down on plastic waste, and promote the use of sustainable materials. Some cities have waste-to-energy plants that turn non-recyclable waste into electricity, which helps to reduce the environmental impact of urban areas even more. As the world becomes more connected, it's crucial that countries work together to tackle global environmental issues. Climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution aren't limited by national borders. They're global problems that need a global solution. International agreements like the Paris Agreement on Climate Change and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, provide a way for countries to work together to protect the environment and promote sustainable development. But we can't rely on the government alone to make these goals a reality. The private sector, civil society, and individuals all have a part to play in creating a sustainable future. Businesses can lead the way by adopting sustainable practices, reducing their carbon footprints, and developing environmentally friendly products. Consumers can make a difference by choosing sustainable products, reducing waste, and supporting companies that prioritize environmental responsibility.